Good morning, Senator. And our honorable tribal leaders and my distinguished federal colleagues. I really am thankful for the opportunity to be here this morning. I appreciate the warm welcome. Pleased that we have our area director for the Bemidji area Indian Health Service, Mr. Daniel Fry, here this morning as well. I am thankful that I have an opportunity to provide an update on the Indian Health Service programs benefiting American Indian and Alaska Native communities under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. I testified on May 4th on this topic and provided a lot of background on our sanitation facilities construction program. So this morning, I think I would like to just provide a few updates since that have occurred since that time. On May 31st, the IHS announced the fiscal year 22 allocation decisions for $700 million that was appropriated to the Indian Health Service within the IIJA, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Leading up to the allocation decision, the IHS conducted 3 virtual tribal consultations on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act from November 22nd, 2021 to January 5th, 2022. And based on review and consideration of input received through tribal consultation, the IHS decided to use current sanitation deficiency system data and the agency's existing funding mechanisms to allocate these resources. This includes IHS direct service projects funded through federal acquisition regulations, contracts, or tribal procurement, and Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act construction contracts. The IHS will allocate approximately $581 million in fiscal year 22 funding for Tier 1 project construction costs. A Tier 1 project is considered ready to fund because planning is complete. The IHS will also allocate $60 million for design and construction document creation activities related to these Tier 1 projects, which include engineering design activities for proposed sanitation facilities, contract documents, and contract plans and specifications. Tier 2 projects have a level of their engineering assessment complete and have a well-understood deficiency and a recommended solution, while Tier 3 projects have deficiencies identified but are still in the planning phase, which may include identifying solutions. The IHS will allocate approximately $33 million in FY22 funding for the planning, design, and construction contract document creation for Tier 2 and Tier 3 projects. The IHS will also use its fiscal year 2022 annual appropriations to support additional planning, design, and construction document creation activities for Tier 2 and Tier 3 projects. The sanitation deficiency system currently includes 661 Tier 2 projects totaling approximately $2.2 billion and 361 Tier 3 projects totaling approximately $505 million. These allocation decisions align with recommendations from tribal leaders from our tribal consultation to prioritize funding for projects that have completed the planning phase and can be immediately placed into the design and construction phase, and to provide sufficient funding for planning and design activities to get projects ready to fund. Now, within the IHS Bemidji area, which includes Minnesota, 19 Tier 1 projects totaling nearly $9.3 million in IHS eligible costs will be funded with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act appropriation. And a listing of those Tier 1 projects was included in our written submission. Here in Minnesota, IHS will allocate in fiscal year 2022 nearly $1.6 million to the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe White Earth Band for the Rice Lake Sewer Extension, nearly $3 million to the Menominee Indian Tribe for Kashina sewer improvements, approximately $9,000 to the Lower Sioux Indian Community for lift station grates, and $41,000 to the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe Fond du Lac Band for the Ridge Road Water System water meter installation. Historically, IHS has received limited program support resources to address the SFC project workload. SFC project funding has increased since fiscal year 2018, and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act funding will significantly increase the SFC workload. However, the IIJA limits funding for program support activities to 3% per year. Given this limitation, it is possible that the average project duration could be greater than the current average project duration of 3.6 years. The IIJA also restricts program support funding to federal activities, which means that tribes that operate their SFC projects directly cannot access these needed administrative resources. To address this need for administrative support, the fiscal year 2023 President's budget requests more than $49 million in facilities and environmental health support resources to support IIJA implementation, and this funding would be available for federal activities and to tribes who compact or contract under the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act to implement SFC projects. This investment is critically necessary to maintain existing project completion deadlines and ensure successful implementation of IIJA resources. We look forward to continuing our work with Congress related to the SFC program and the use of IIJA funds to make improvements in tribal communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. We'll now hear from Mr. Baumann.